Interplanetary Assembly to discuss coalition plans. Orion's Belt, Tana's homeworld. All rise for the Imperator Ungar, the elected head of council, for our 293rd Interplanetary Assembly. The announcer spoke, the crowd growing quiet. And old alien slowly hobbled on stage and sat down with a huff. Hello everyone. Thank you for attending. I am pleased to see that everyone is taking the assembly seriously, even after so long has passed since it started. Now, we have several issues to address. But before we begin, I will allow suggestions to be voiced. Ungar spoke, adjusting his glasses and coughing a bit. Your Honor, I will to voice my suggestion. Councillor McCullough from the Palox planet stood up. As we all see, for the last 20 interplanetary assemblies, the humans, who are amongst our newest members, have not once bothered showing up. Their involvement with the coalition of worlds is minimum at best. They contribute nothing of value and are rudely refusing any help offered to advance their world. I propose we subjugate the humans. Some sheep simply need a stern hand to guide them. The halls erupted with chatter and murmur as the other attendees whispered to one another, voicing their opinions. Councillor. Ungar cleared his throat, once more silencing the chatter of the crowd. Must I remind you of why we don't really bother much with humans? Yes, Your Honor. But they are not too technologically advanced. Most of their arsenal and space fleets are pretty on par with what most of the galaxy already has. It's not like they are thousands of years ahead of us. And they do not have any strong allies within the coalition, due to them keeping diplomatic dealings to a minimum. She continued. Her voice was filled with anger and ego. Her own species, rudely rejected in their offer of trade by the humans, took great pride in how easily they formed allies. To have the door, metaphorically slammed in their face, was an outrage on Palox. Councillor McCullough. Need I remind you of the human secret weapon? The Imperator cut her off. What secret weapon? Last time I checked, the coalition's record on that species showed no such thing. She asked, her voice dropping to a more bearable tone. Their god. Ungar answered. Oh please. She rolled her eyes and scoffed. With all due respect, Your Honor, and fellow members of the coalition, we already have all the information on human religions. I mean, sure, they believe Jesus will come back. But so far, no sign of such a thing ever happening. Even if he does come back, he is pretty benevolent. He heals the sick, and yeah, when he dies, he pops back up after a few days. But I would not call it a secret weapon. McCullough spoke, her speech bordering on a rant. Even they don't fully believe in their own god. Most of them being atheists or agnostics. She took a deep breath in. McCullough. Ungar raised his voice, stopping her speech before it became a rant. She looked around at the somber faces of the other attendees. Do they know something I don't? She thought. Councillor, how long have you been in the office? The head of council asked. About 5 mandates. Why? McCullough replied. Then you really don't know much. You see, humans have a god and gods, and all sorts of stuff, and it's all religion. Some believe it, some don't. But there is another being. An elder god who seems to favor humans and has even lived amongst them for an entire human life. And as much as the humans are divided in their belief, they all. Ungar inhaled. All 12 billion of them, regardless of gender, race, age or religion, almost unanimously agree in their depiction of that being. Councillor McCullough felt her stomach drop. So, they really have an elder god? Well, what's known about him? How powerful is that being? She asked, looking around the room. It would seem that the longer-running members of the coalition already knew of this secret. Well, I believe it is best you learn now, as to prevent any potential attempts at subjugating humanity. Heed these words well, you and other younger members of the coalition. I will not be repeating myself. Ungar said, pulling out a large file, a literal written document that said, classified. McCullough was at awe. How much secret event hidden this document must be to have no electronic record but a written file. Sit down, counselor. The head of council spoke as McCullough sat down. He opened the file, adjusted his glasses once more, and began to read. Human Elder God. Origins unknown. He seems to predate the universe, at least in some form. But let's begin with his human form and move from that. He looked at the crowd as they all nodded. Ahem. A short pause before Ungar began. He was born of his aunt because no one dared to have sex with his mother. He can stop a chain sword, or as the humans call it, a chainsaw, with his bare hands, even after the saw is already spinning. He is said to never wear eye protection because when he stares into their sun, the sun looks away. Counselor McCullough was sitting in her seat dumbfounded. The reptiles that predate humanity tried to play catch with him, but he threw the ball too hard. Ungar continued. When he enters a pitch-black room, the lights don't turn on. The darkness simply leaves. If you wish to see the list of that man's enemies, just check the extinct species files. The crowd was dead silent. McCullough looked around, a look of fear etched the faces of attendees. But no one has seen him in so long. I mean, how do we recognize this god, if he looks just like a human? Ungar acknowledged her question and flipped through a few pages. It's actually pretty easy. He continued reading to answer her question. When he walks by a reflective surface, there is no reflection because no one dares copy him. His shadow is always in front of him, regardless of time of day, because no one dares sneak up on him. He never had a cardiac arrest. His own heart is too afraid to attack him. When the almighty Vandral, our creator, decided to construct our universe, he asked this man for the blueprint. The head of council closed the file and knocked it on the desk a few times before setting it to the side. So, do you now understand why we don't attempt to subjugate humans or even bother with them at all? Yes, Your Honor. McCullough answered meekly, her face pale, as she took a sip of water. So, before we move on to other matters, what do the humans call this elder god? Ungar dropped his voice to almost a whisper, looking around slightly paranoid. As he got an inch from the microphone, he simply said, "They call him Chuck." The author's name and the link to original text is in the description. Consider tapping the thumbs up and pressing the subscribe button if you enjoyed this video.